What's up, everybody? My name is Adam Palmer. This is Daily Nonsense. On today's show, we have some updates to a Superfractor. I'm going to give Panini a shout out on something they did well, and 3 cards that were pretty notable that ended in the past couple days. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button, or if you're a new viewer, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss any future Daily Nonsense content. Let's get into the episode. So we have a quick update here for the Kurtz Superfractor Topps Chrome autograph. I did a story for collectibles on SI. You can check that out. I'm actually just going to put the link in the comments. This was like last week. So I think last week it was returned. Like the redemption went through. I had talked to the person. Toro Pulls on Twitter, and they are on Instagram, I think, as well. But so I talked to them. They're going to be sending the auction, or they're going to be sending the card to auction, I believe is what they said. But now the card has been graded, and it came back a 10 with a 10 autograph, which, phenomenal grade for that card. I mean, that's like best case scenario for the card in general. And I mean, realistically, that's what the grade should be. Like, it was a redemption that was sent directly from Topps, so like it didn't have to go into a pack. It didn't have to get shipped in like all of these in a pack, in a box, in a box, in a box, and then taken out and then shipped. So that card should be in good condition, but the grade has come back and it received a 10 PSA 10 with a 10 autograph as well. Now, what I'm going to do here is something that I rarely have done on the podcast for forever, and I'm going to give some props to Panini. I think that the Prism Black product that they put out for basketball is probably going to be one of their better basketball products they've ever come out with. I know that they probably were going to use that for like the next year's Prism, like this year with like Flag, but they couldn't. But I don't know the reason why they would make the product and then like have to completely revert the process and like make it a 2024 product instead of a 2025 product. They kind of did that with a few things. Like Eminence was another example, which that's actually something we're going to talk about later on in the episode. So like Eminence comes out, Panini Black comes out, and it's these products that were like they hadn't come out in many years. Like I think the Prism Black, it was one of the first times, if not the first time, and I know Eminence hadn't come out since like 2014, I think was the date that I saw, like 10 years almost. So what they did with Prism Black that I think is very impressive actually for Panini was that they put the artist name who did the manga cards on the back of the cards. And this was something that I was very nervous about when I first started seeing the manga Prism Panini Black cards, because I saw some really awesome designs. And, we've seen Panini has been using AI, so I was a little bit nervous that somehow they had been using AI for this. But no, it looks like they specifically were tagging the artists and giving them credit on the back of the cards, which, like, if I am going to be honest here, I think that's what they should be doing with any type of art cards that they're doing. The Kabooms, the Downtowns, maybe I understand that they aren't able to do that, but like if they are coming in here and they want to present these art cards as like cards that you want to get, I think it should be like kind of best practice to either tag the artist or give credit to the artist, because like I said, we've seen their issues with them using AI. So obviously I don't want them tagging like ChatGPT or whatever, AI bot they use to make those downtown cards. But like if they are going to be using art cards like this, like the manga cards, like I hope that going forward with whatever products they decide to put these types of cards into, that they can give credit to the artist. And I know that with like Project 2020 and Project 70, like that's obviously, they didn't really have to credit the artist necessarily because there were different artists that came out with cards and we knew who they were. But this one, I saw like an ad for it on Instagram, and then I saw on the back, like I hadn't looked at one of the back of one of these cards, and I saw the artist name and I was like, wow, that's actually, that's a pretty cool feature. That's a pretty cool detail that Panini didn't really have to include, that they decided to. For Panini, they have been using art types of cards like this. Like, this isn't the first time they've done this type of design. So, I mean, I guess I have to go back and maybe see if they also were using the same artist, because I was looking at some of the cards that came out of, I think, regular Prism and Panini 1. Didn't remember seeing the artist names on the back of those cards. So, going forward, like I said, I hope that Panini can take a little bit of credit, or not credit, but they can take some notes here from this idea that I think crediting the artists is a big deal, and I think it's a good thing and something that I hope that they continue to do going forward with any other types of art cards that they decide to put into products. There were three notable sales, and I talked about the Steph Curry manga card in the previous segment, but there were three notable sales that have happened over the weekend and in the past, like, couple days towards the end of the week. The one was, it's not a Curry card, but it came out of Eminence. It was a Bronny James game worn patch Logoman card, which I guess surprisingly isn't his most expensive card. It sold for 10K. When I was looking it up, there was the one of one Bowman, LeBron, Bronny James logo man that came out of Bowman Chrome U that sold for like 110,000. And then there was the actual Superfractor Bowman card for Bronny. I think that was autographed. That sold for like it was like 10.7. So there was that card that I thought came out of Eminence. I thought that was a pretty good card. Again, I'm not sure how many of these Eminence cards are really going to be like worth the price that you paid for the box. Like that, it's not the best card out of that product, but it's one of the good cards. So if you're opening that box, you probably are not doing very well, if I'm going to be completely honest. The other card that actually came out of Eminence as well was a Curry Klay Thompson dual logo man. Those were both game worn. Both of them look kind of different, which I thought was kind of cool. But so that one sold for 40K, and it sold actually on eBay, which is kind of interesting. The eBay listing actually it was pulled from a break, and the person used the card from the break. So I don't know if like they didn't have the card or something like that, but that card sells for 40K, which on eBay that's pretty impressive. I would be a little bit nervous selling something for 40K on eBay, but either way, that card did sell. And then I think the big card that I have been keeping my eyes on that sold on Friday was the Curry Klay Thompson. It had the championship, the little tag from the back of their championship jerseys, and it had an autograph. That came out of Flawless, and that sold for 540K. And from what I've seen, this is the first patch autograph card, or the first one of one patch autograph card with these two players on it. And it is obviously a historic card, and it's going to be, I'm surprised it actually didn't sell for a little bit more. 500K, I could see when Curry and Thompson maybe retire, this could probably sell in like the 7 or 8 figures, like, or maybe not 8 figures, but like 7, I could see it selling for $1 million, like once they retire. I am a little bit surprised it didn't sell for like more than that. I mean, I think I was estimating it was probably in that range. And I knew it was at least going to be 100K, but I guess I wasn't sure much higher it was going to go. That card was sold on Alt, and when I was looking on Card Ladder, it said that that card was confirmed paid for. So now, somebody has that card. And again, I guess shout out to Panini here, because they put out that like 3 or 4 really cool cards kind of right at the end. That the 3 cards that I've talked about here, and I think that this card is probably going to be one of those like iconic cards that we look back at like in a few years or 10 years, and we're like, wow, how did this only sell for like 500K back then? Because it's just like, those two players really revolutionized the game of basketball in this era. Like, and I think that people understand that, but I feel like their two card prices, really don't exactly reflect. I do know that like Curry has a lot of like high prices for his cards, and there's a couple different reasons for that. It was the last year that Topps had the basketball license, so I don't know, it's kind of like, I don't know, poetic maybe here, that like when Topps takes over the license, Curry now has this card that sells for 500K. And I know some of his National Treasures RPAs have sold for over 100. And I think like Alt had the sale of the like one of one National Treasures Curry, which was like, I think it was like at the time it was the most expensive, but like it was bought by multiple people, and like Alt bought it, and there was like a little bit of confusion about it. So like even on Card Ladder, if you go to the most expensive sports cards of all time, I guess for some reason that's not on there, and I'm not 100% sure why. Like if they bought it to fractionalize it, or I think that's what it was, something like that. But either way, so those are some of the expensive sales of interesting cards that sold in the past like week or so. That's all we've got for today. Make sure you leave a comment. Let us know what you thought about today's topics. Also, come back here to the Sports Card Nonsense YouTube channel every day for more daily nonsense. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.